welcome to our monthly masterclass. It's been a minute since we've done one of these, so we're super excited. We've got a super awesome guest with us today. I'll introduce here in just a little bit. So our masterclass, for anyone that doesn't know, this is where we bring experts in the industry who share tried and true tactics that are going to help you grow and manage your business. So we're super excited for everyone that's here. We'll give you just a couple minutes as people keep gathering in, just to make sure no one misses any of the good meat of what's going on today. So we are super excited.
Welcome, Ashley. Saw you just got on. We're grateful for everyone here. We got some on Zoom and then some on Facebook Live. So we're catching you everywhere, anywhere. And anyone who has comments, make sure you comment or questions throughout. We love to help you answer them.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. If you know anyone that isn't able to make it and misses this, we are going to be posting it. It's recorded, so it's always better live though. Everyone's going to want to make sure and stay tuned because we do have a giveaway on this masterclass today. Woo! And you're not going to want to miss it. So it's going to be exciting.
We love giveaways.
Yeah.
I was totally inspired by Michelle. Michelle came on and did a training for me and my coaching program, and she was just so awesome at the way she delivered it. And she had this giveaway, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea. So in honor of Michelle and Jill's office today, I'm going to do a giveaway. So I'm excited.
Love it. That's so fun.
That's going to be awesome. We're super excited. Alrighty, while we're waiting for some people to get on, since a lot of us are business owners and working hard all the time, I thought it'd be fun to talk about our favorite or your dream vacation if you ever have time to go on a vacation. So we'll start with you, Ryan. If you could vacation anywhere, where would you go?
Oh, that's a good question. I toy between like going to a new destination or somewhere I've already been. When I was 19 years old, I went on a mission for my church to Portugal, and I absolutely fell in love with that country. So I went back a couple years ago with my wife, and so that's probably our next one. We want to go back there because it was just so fun, and I know Portuguese, and I know the language, I know the area. So I'd either go there or just go explore some new place like Costa Rica or something like that we want to go try.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Those are all great places. What about you, Michelle and Nicole?
Oh, I know exactly where I need to go. Actually, I have too many ideas. But, they're on my vision board. You've seen them before. I've always wanted to go to Bali, but I also have always wanted to go to London, very specifically to go to the Doc Martens store.
Nice.
You would love that.
Yeah, that's on my vision board. My husband knows. I'm waiting.
That's awesome. For me, yeah, basically anywhere I haven't been before is always an adventure for me. So, but I definitely want to go to Fiji. That's on my list. That's probably my next dream I want to go.
That's awesome. Cool. These are all good places. I got to add all those to my bucket list. I think the whole world is already on my list. So yeah. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you that missed it, we've got a super awesome guest on today, Ryan Lee, and there is going to be a giveaway at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. We're super excited. Ryan Lee is an entrepreneur. We especially love him because he's in our neck of the woods here in Utah. He has started and grown several multi-million-dollar businesses. After selling his landscape lighting business in 2019, he founded the world's first coaching program dedicated to the landscape lighting industry. So his mission is actually to help landscape lighting contractors gain freedom from their business by teaching them proven sales and marketing systems. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but he has personally sold over 15 million worth of products and services over his career, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Ryan's passion for success and ability to start and grow businesses has led him to this point now where he's at in life to be a mentor to other business owners looking to gain financial freedom through their business. So that is super awesome. We're excited to have you. So our topic for today's master class is going to be pricing for profit. So how to add at least 20% to your bottom line without doing any work. So this is going to be super exciting. Ryan, we'll turn over to you.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm so excited for this topic today. Sorry. And just for those who don't know us, Caitlin, myself, and Nicole, we're all from Jill's office. I'm super excited to have Ryan on with us today. But I'm really excited for this topic because it's something everyone always cares about. But I mean, especially right now with all the craziness going on in the economy, I mean, we all want to know how can we make profits, you know, with inflation and everything else that's going on. And so thank you for coming on and speaking about this today. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm going to just share my screen. And if you guys would just let me know if you can see everything okay. You see that all right?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay. So I appreciate that, Michelle. Like you said, like pricing is so important. It's always been important, but the last couple of years has been nuts, and we've got gas prices through the roof and everything else. So this presentation is for like a regular economy situation, but the fact that we've got so much inflation, we're gonna like 10x this. Like we've got to make more than 20%. We got to make way more money because of what we're going through right now. And if you haven't raised your prices just to keep up with inflation, like you're already way behind. So hopefully this will help you guys. I'm going to give you guys 2 or 3 things that you can implement in your business starting today that's going to have huge impact on you. And the thing I love about pricing is it's so easy. Like there's a lot of different ways to grow your business and make money, but this is the easiest one. It honestly is the easiest one. And the other ones are good, but they take a lot of effort and we're all busy and everything else. So if you can just hang with me through this, I'm going to give you guys 2 or 3 steps that are going to be really easy to implement and help you guys make some more money. So does that sound good? Let me make
fabulous.
Sure. Yeah. Make sure I know how to operate my own slideshow. Okay. So real quick, just to introduce myself. I got into the industry. I started my own landscape lighting business in 2007. I ended up selling that business in 2019. At the time, we were doing a little over $2 million in sales every single year with just landscape lighting. The next thing, I don't know if I'm proud of this or not, but I personally designed 2,000 lighting systems, sold over $10 million worth of landscape lighting alone. And I'm proud of that. But then I'm like, wait, why did I do so much? Like if I would have learned earlier on in my career to go from operator to owner, then it would have been like, I installed 20 lighting systems, you know, and I hired people to design the rest of the 2,000. So I currently own Landscape Lighting Secrets, which is a coaching program designed to help people go from operator to owner and really master their business and be the best landscape lighting company they can be. I host a weekly podcast called Lighting for Profits, where I have different guests on. We had Michelle on a couple of weeks ago. So it's not just lighting, like we have business experts on and stuff like that. So you guys can go to lightingforprofits.com and check that out. And then now, as of today, I'm a Jill's Office Masterclass instructor. So I'm so grateful, you guys, that I'm now a Jill's Office Masterclass instructor. I hope that's okay. I gave myself that title.
100%. I love it.
Okay, cool. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to move kind of quick. If you guys have questions, just put them in the chat, interrupt me. I think Michelle's monitoring the Facebook, wherever. So don't wait till the end. Like if you have a question, don't be like, oh, when he's done, I'll ask. Like just type it in. And I told Michelle, go ahead and stop me. I don't care. I want to make sure that you guys are getting maximum value for taking time out of your day today. So we're basically going to cover the first thing is why pricing is key in transforming your business. And honestly, I start with this in my coaching program too, because it's the number one thing that business owners struggle with. It's like the hardest thing, but it's the easiest thing to fix. And so then after we understand really the math behind why you're not where you already want to be in life, then we're going to talk about the different methods on how to increase your price, literally starting today. So let's jump into it. So here's the thing, guys, pricing is so important. And most people are pricing their business like they operate today. And what I mean by that is like, maybe you're a one-man show, or maybe you have like an installer or a technician, or maybe even someone to help answer the phones, but you're wanting to get to that next level, right? You want to get to the $1 million mark. You want to get to the $2 million mark. Whatever your goal is, you're wanting to get to that next level. And we all know that we can't do that unless we spend money on more advertising, unless we hire more people to help us. Like as proud of as I am about, you know, designing 2,000 systems, like I said before, had I just only designed 20 systems and I delegated, that would have been much easier, but I didn't have the money to do that. I couldn't afford to hire another salesperson. I couldn't afford to hire, at the time, I couldn't even probably afford to hire Jill's Office. I literally wasn't making enough money, right? And so the key with pricing your business, pricing your product or service, whatever you're selling, is you got to plan for who you're going to be. So maybe you don't have the overhead right now of 5 employees, and maybe you don't need all that insurance and everything else, but go ahead and put it in your model to start acting like who you want to be. And so that's the number one thing that people mess up on. They go, you know what? I can charge this because then after my expenses, I'm going to make $500 today. And like, wow, $500 today, that's awesome. That's 2,500 a week. That's 10 grand a month. That's more than I need to live on. Well, the problem is it doesn't give you enough to grow, right? The next thing is most people are making pricing decisions for their clients. So have you guys ever gotten to someone's house and, you know, it doesn't matter if you're like window cleaning, pressure washing, doing landscape lights, doing roofing, it really does not matter. Have you gotten there and you like just judge them and you see the house and you're like, man, they got weeds, like this and that, like they're not gonna be able to afford this, you know, I'm probably just gonna give them the cheapest option possible. Or have you gone to another house where it's like a $3 million house and it's just awesome and you're like, they're gonna do like the Mac Daddy option, right? So we tend to kind of prejudge people based on what we see, and we tend to make decisions also based on our buying habits. So sometimes it's hard for people to sell a $10,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 landscape lighting package because they personally wouldn't spend that kind of money. Well, you personally don't have your client's type of income either, right? And so most people are making decisions for their clients, and it's a huge mistake because you are not your client, right? And so don't fall into this trap. And then finally, most people are pricing based on market pricing, which, you know, like I ask people like, well, how'd you come up with your price? It's like, well, my competition, you know, they're charging this and I decided to go just a little bit under, right? And so that's a major no-no. And then finally, most people, they don't want to price gouge and take advantage of their clients. You know, we're raised as good people. Like, you know, you feel like you're taking advantage of someone if you make good money, right? And so that's also a problem, and I'll tell you why. So the solution to these problems is, one, like I said, price like who you want to be, not like who you are. So if you want to be a multi-million-dollar company, you're going to have insurance, you're going to have more trucks, you're going to have more people, right? And that's going to cost money. So when you're figuring out what you need to charge to make your desired profit, make sure you include those expenses in your formula.
Hey, Ryan, real quick, just as you were talking about this, I recently read a book, The Psychology of Money. And it basically just dove into all these, like, you know, deep-seated beliefs you have about money that you're probably not even aware of, you know, just based on your upbringing, you know, what was going on in the culture, your environment, like all these different factors that you consciously aren't always thinking about. And this is taking a step further, because I was talking mostly about just how you view money, maybe your spending habits and saving habits, things like that. But then when it comes to your business, there are so many layers to the way, like, to the feelings we have around pricing and charging customers and the way our money runs in our business that we're probably not even conscious of. So that just made me think about that, and how it's like you really got to get conscious about it and not get stuck in these ruts of these things that are almost holding you back. And so anyway, I love where you're going with this, but that just made me think about that book.
No, I mean, I'm glad you brought it up. It's true. I mean, even the way I was raised, I believed that like money was the root of all evil and everything else. And like you can't be successful, because if you're successful and you have a nice house, then why aren't you giving money to the poor and everything else? Like, and as a business, like, you have to treat it differently. Like, the business has to have money. If you don't like money, it's going to be really, really hard to be a successful entrepreneur, because the business has to have money. If you want to start a charity, you can start a charity, but first the business has to have enough money to support the charity, right? If you want to give all your money back to your clients or whatever, that's fine, but you got to also give back to your team members, and you got to pay your team members what they're worth. You know, you've got to take care of them. So unfortunately, money, like, not a lot of people like to talk about it, but we have to. Like, as business owners, it's the thing that keeps us going, right? So the second point is, you know, you got to let your clients make pricing decisions. You know, they are completely different than you. They have different income. I mean, like $1,000 to you could be like $10 to them, right? And so you don't know what their income's like. You don't know what their spending's like. You got to let them make the pricing decision and give them the freedom to do that. And then Price based on your business needs, not your competition. So many people just find out what the competition is charging and then do a little bit above or a little bit below. That has nothing to do with why you should price. I mean, what does your competition know about anything? Like, you're giving them a lot of credit that they've done the research and they know economics and all this stuff. They don't know anything, right? And you talk trash about them all the time. So why would you try to be like them, right? So you need to understand what it costs you to run a business. And if they pay their employees $10 an hour, but you pay yours $25 an hour, then how are you going to be competitive on pricing, right? And so price based on your business needs. And then finally, price high enough to deliver a red carpet, white glove experience. You've got to be able to do this. This is the key to staying in business. You know, a lot of people come into different industries and they only last a year or two at most. And that's because they're not charging enough money to deliver the red carpet, white glove experience. When I sold my business in 2019, we did over $600,000 in sales just from repeat business. Now, if we weren't delivering that red carpet, white glove service, I doubt we'd have any of that, right? And so $600,000, can you imagine $600,000 a year in just repeat business? And that was because we were charging a premium. You know, some people would be like, well, I can't do that. I'm charging, and people were charging half our price, right? And so how is that possible? Well, we're going to talk about how to do that today. So, and then finally, just don't apologize for being a capitalist. That's where we're at. Okay. So, lost control. Okay. So, to be the best, you guys, we talked about kind of growing into like who you want to be, not who you are, but you have to be able to afford the best labor. You know, there's good people out there, and it's harder to hire now, you know, but there's still a lot of people out there working. There's good people out there, and you just have to be willing to pay them. You have to be able to afford the best materials, the best systems. It takes time to build a business, right? So uniforms, wraps, trucks, all that stuff, they all affect the client's buying decision. And honestly, you are doing a disservice if you're not charging more. And too many people think, well, you know, this client was cheap, so, you know, I'm just going to cut corners here, or I'm not going to follow up as much as I should, or whatever. But I mean, that's your fault, and it's the client's fault. And I've told people that, like, when they're like, well, you know, we're going to get bids, you know, is there something cheaper? It's like, well, of course there's something cheaper, you know, but honestly, if you decide to go with someone else that's cheaper, but you expect the red carpet, white glove experience that I promised, then it's actually just as much your fault as it is their fault, because it's just not possible. You can't get that high quality experience and be the lowest price. It's just not possible, unless you're Amazon, maybe. So, and as your business grows, your bills are going to grow. I mean, even in my business now, I'm still in a startup phase with Landscape Lighting Secrets. I mean, I had like zero overhead when I started, and now all of a sudden my monthly expenses are up and up and up, right? And so you've got to make sure you're charging enough to reach your financial goals. It's absolutely mandatory. And finally, just decide if you want to own a business or if you want to own a job. And if you're fine owning a job, then maybe you don't need to pay attention to the rest of this, and maybe you're doing fine. But honestly, if you want to be a business owner where you can actually hire a team and build something that's going to have legacy and impact, and be able to impact your team members and their lives and your suppliers and your vendors and everything else, then pricing is going to be the number one thing you can focus on today.
Love that. And I think you have to realize you're not going to be able to service everyone. But that's like, I mean, you either are going to say, I'm going to be cheap enough to service everyone, but everyone isn't going to want to come to you because you're not going to be high quality enough for everyone. Or you're going to be on the other end and just, you know, not everyone can afford me. So either way, you're not going to attract everyone, whether you decide to go, you know, price where you're really going to make a profit or price where everyone can afford you. Either way, you're not going to win everyone. I mean, look at Walmart. Everyone could probably afford to walk into Walmart, but not everyone will walk into a Walmart. Whereas, you know, you've got your higher end stores that you're going to attract certain types of people to shop there, but then they're going to keep coming back and have that, you know, amazing experience every time. So either way, you're not going to get everyone. So just choose which everyone you want, I guess.
Exactly.
Right?
No, 100%. And the hardest part is getting started, because you're like, well, I don't have that luxury of just waiting for that person that I want to work for. And so I get the idea, like the temptation to just price it for whatever you want. And you know, like when you're starting, you kind of have to do what you have to do, right? And so that's one thing. But the problem is people get stuck in that rut. And then if you do work for a cheap client, the referrals are going to be cheap clients, you know? And so you want to get out of that rut as soon as possible. So hopefully these tips that we're going to go over will help you guys all out today. So before I kind of give you the two main strategies that are going to help propel you to be able to charge really whatever price you want, I want to kind of go over the math behind this, because when you understand the math, it's going to give you, it's going to motivate you, and you're going to be like, holy cow, like I am leaving a lot of money on the table. Holy cow, I can have significant impact. You can, if you start charging it right, you can afford to start any charity you want and give all the money back away, right? So I wanted to show you this quick example. So instead of telling you guys to like double your price, which is, I really want you guys to all just like double your prices today, but no one will ever take me up on that. So instead of just starting with that, I want to just encourage you and challenge you to raise your price by 10%. Okay. At the end of today, you're going to raise your price by 10%. So let's see what that does to the numbers. Well, let's say you're at $1 million in sales right now, and you're making 25%. It's a really nice business, right? You know, $1 million in sales, making 25%, make $250,000 in profit. You might think, well, that sounds, I'll just take that. Like, I don't need any improvement upon that, right? You got 750,000 in expenses, so you make 250. That sounds awesome, right? Well, what if you just raise your price by 10%? Here's what would happen. You end up selling 1.1 million. Your expenses stay the same, because literally you're not going to do anything. You're not even going to hire me. You're not going to spend another dime. All you're doing is raising your price by 10%. Okay. Your same processes, as good or as bad as they are, same truck, same team members, everything, right? And so it costs you the same amount of money, and you just made 350,000, which is a 40% increase in profit. 40% increase for just a 10% increase in price. So what would you guys do with an extra $100,000? Like, seriously, $100,000, that's insane. And all you did was raise your price by 10%. I think most of us would agree that, especially right now, it's actually easier to raise your price, because people know, like, the gas prices literally just doubled, like lumber, all these different, like, they know, people know that expenses are up. So 10% is like nothing. They're going to expect you to raise your price by like 50, 60%. So 10% is nothing. And at, you know, this example, you would have made an extra $100,000. So what if we do a smaller company and we say, okay, smaller company, $400,000 in sales. Maybe they're not pricing as well as they should, so they're only making 20%, but still, it's a good company. You know, $400,000 in sales, make $80,000 in profit. That's a good year for most businesses, right? And so you do the 10%. What's interesting here, when you do this example, again, you just 10% increase. So now you sell an extra $40,000. Your expenses are the exact same. You didn't hire me. You didn't get more people, anything like that. 320,000 expenses. So now you went from 80 to $120,000. That's a 50% increase in profit, you guys. This is just a small change in pricing. So if you raise it by 20%, like what's going to happen, right? And so these are just small changes, and that's where I want you guys to start. I don't even really want you to double your price today or anything like that, because then you could go do it and then you fall on your face and you're like, see, he was wrong. Like, I can't trust him, right? Just prove me wrong at the 10%, right? And I'll show you what will happen. Now, a couple things can happen. One, you could lose clients. So let's just say, hypothetically, that you raise your price and your biggest fear happens and you start to lose clients. Now, 10% increase is not going to result in you losing all of your clients, but there's a chance that you could lose a percentage of them. Well, the way the math works out is you can actually afford to lose up to 22% of your clients with a 10% price increase and still make the exact same amount of money. Okay, so let's just
have a number to that, because you're going to lose some, but you probably aren't going to lose that many. So knowing that you could lose up to that amount and still be making more or breaking even, that's crazy. I love seeing that number.
Well, here's the crazy thing about it. Okay, let's just say it's 20%. You lose 20%. Well, that's 1/5, which that means there's 5 days in a week. Let's just say you're working 5 days a week. Now you can afford to take Fridays off, make the exact same amount of money, and go to the lake, go hunting, go fishing, go do whatever you want. All you have to do is think about me when you're doing that activity, because I just got you a full day a week, 1 day a week back, and you make the exact same amount of money. So if you don't want to take over the world and build your empire and all that stuff, and you just want to fish every Friday, well, you just did it. You literally just raised your price by 10%, lost 20% of your clients, and now you get Fridays off to think about me. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That's not going to happen, guys. Like I've I just promise you it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, you're not going to lose 20% of your clients. Unfortunately, you're going to have to keep working Friday. And when you implement the next couple of things we're going to talk about, your client, you're actually going to start to land more deals. And it's almost like what Michelle said, not everyone wants to go to Walmart, right? And so if you're offering the Walmart now, and now you offer the Saks Fifth Avenue or whatever, and you're like, no, I wouldn't shop there. I wouldn't spend that, whatever. But if you find the clients that would, your sales are going to go through the roof and you're going to make more money. So my last example, right? This was just raising your price by 10%. What I didn't tell you was you're actually going to increase your sales percentage as well. So it's not even a true story. Instead of 440 in sales, you're probably going to get 500 in sales. Your expenses will be the same and you're going to make way more money. So, all right. Before we jump into the two things, I want to do, again, this is totally inspired by Michelle. I want to do my gift card giveaway. I did this on my podcast this last week. So I'm going to do a $50 gift card to the first person that answers this next question correctly. So is that how it works? Is that what I do?
Yeah, and we're watching on Facebook Live too. So anyone on Facebook Live, feel free to play.
Okay, anyone who's there. So first person to answer it correctly will win a $50 gift card from me. So, and then whoever wins, just shoot me a Facebook message or email me at support@ryanleecoaching.com. Just get in touch with me and I'll hook you up with this. So you guys ready? Should we ask the question?
Ready.
Okay, you guys, if you're part of Jill's office, I don't think you guys can play, can you? Don't say it out loud.
We won't play.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Okay, here's the question. First person to answer it correctly gets a $50 gift card. What year did Thomas Edison invent the light bulb? Now, what do we do? Do we just wait?
Do it in the chat, either on Facebook Live or the chat on the Zoom, wherever you're watching.
Yep, either one. Just chat it in. Type it in. I've got like two screens going. You can't see the answer, right?
I mean, I can see the answer.
I can see it too. I don't know.
Come on, guys. The answer's right there. Someone's just got to type it in.
I think
so which screen? I think so. You can see the wrong screen.
I might be the Mojer in.
1879.
Oh, Hunter. He's in for the game.
Got it.
So,
no. Did
guys,
Hunter say it first or did Ashley type it first?
Okay, now
there we go. That's it.
Oh my gosh, I just realized I'm like, can you see that on the? Okay, so was he the first one?
I think Hunter for the win. I didn't see. Kaylin, did you catch if Hunter said it first or Ashley typed it first? I didn't catch which one went first. But Hunter, you were bold enough to get in here and say it. So
okay, Hunter, I got you. I think I got your address already too. Congratulations, Hunter, for paying attention.
Points for showing up.
All right, this will look better now. I didn't realize it was showing the wrong screen. I apologize, you guys. Okay, so $50 gift card coming your way, Hunter. All right, the answer is 1879, and I had to Google that as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about the two methods you guys can implement, literally just starting today. Move this. The first is called the price marinade, and the second is the triple option. So I'm about to either really excite you or really offend you. So let's find out which one. So here's how the price marinade works. These pictures, that's why I was like, these pictures, this could be really exciting for you, or you could be like, oh my gosh, get that out of here. I'm vegan, whatever, right? So the price marinade works like this. It's like a juicy cut of meat. Your offering is going to be that much better if you can let it marinate a bit. And so let's break down how it works. So the key with the price marinade is you actually tell them the price as soon as possible. Now, when I learned sales way back when, I was taught the exact opposite. It's like build value, build value, build value. You know, don't let them know the price because you're going to scare them off. Build value. And then once you built the value, then you deliver the price. And, you know, that worked. I guess it's worked for a lot of people. But I found out that actually works way better when you don't do that. And so The key to the price marinade, again, is just getting the price out as soon as possible. Now, this could be as soon as the initial phone call. So let's say the phone rings, Jill's office picks up, and they start their pre-qualification, and they say, have you ever had this type of service before? In my business, it's like, have you ever had professionally installed landscape lighting? Oh, no, we haven't. Okay, have you done this? Tell us about what you're looking for. Okay, well, what we'll tell them at that point is, just so you know, a minimum job for us starts at $2,500, and an average job is between $8,000 and $10,000. Does that sound about like what you're looking for, right? And you're gonna have people that are like, what? No, it's not what I'm looking for. I thought it was gonna be $500. Well, that's okay. That just saved you at least an hour, if not 2 or 3, in meeting with someone who was really not qualified to meet with you in the first place. Now, there's other times where they're like, yeah, that seems about right. Okay, well, 8 to 10,000, that seems about right. Now you know you're going to an opportunity, you're going to go bid a project where they already have implanted in their mind. It's like inception. Like, you've put in their mind that they're going to spend $10,000 with you today, right? Or that day you're going to meet with them. And so you've got to give them a number well in advance. Now, that's just on the initial phone call. Now, when you go meet with them, a couple things can happen. Worst case scenario, you get there and you're like, oh, great. I told Jill's office to tell them 8 to 10,000. This is like a $30,000 lighting job. Now what, right? And that's going to happen, right? So you get there and you're like, well, now what am I going to do? Well, here's what you're going to do. You introduce yourself at the door and you say, guys, I made a mistake. I got to let you know. And this is like literally the first thing that comes out of your mouth. I know on the phone we told you an average job is between 8 and 10 grand, but I can tell you, and let's just say it's a smaller, let's say it's a $20,000 job, right? You think it's going to be 20,000. You go, man, I made a mistake. I know on the phone we told you between 8 and 10. This is actually, your guys' property is amazing. Okay, throw out a compliment. I mean, you guys, this is awesome. I can tell you this is not an average property. This is definitely above average property. So you're giving them a compliment, and then you tell them not the price you think it's going to be, but a number way higher than you expect it to be. Now, we do that for a couple reasons. One, because sometimes we're wrong, so if we tell them, yeah, it's going to be 20 grand, and then it comes out to 22, well, you're not going to get that deal. Like, even if it's only like 10% higher, they're going to be like, well, I thought you said it was 20, right? And so sometimes we're wrong and we just don't know. Like, as we get more experience with our business, we know when we're walking up to about what it's going to be, but what if we're wrong, right? And then the other reason, and this worked for me yesterday on my coaching program, and I didn't even do a really high price marinade, but I told them the price at the end, and they're like, that's it? Like, you want, instead of sticker shock, you want sticker relief, right? And so if in this scenario, I got there and I thought it was gonna be $20,000, I'd say your guys' property is amazing. This is not an average property. This is top notch. But the bad news is this is gonna be like $25,000 to $30,000, not the 8 to 10. And at that point, they're gonna have a reaction, right? And it's not a good reaction. They're gonna be like, what? Like, oh my gosh, whatever. But the cool thing is they're having the reaction now instead of at the end of the sales presentation when you were asking for a check. So now you have a whole hour to build value instead of the other way around, right? And they've got time to digest it and marinate it, and it just starts working them over, and they're thinking about it, right? And the other thing is, when you go and walk the property with them, you go inside and do the sales presentation, you're gonna have to go back outside to walk around. Now you've separated from them. It allows them time to go, can you believe this guy? He's coming in here telling us it's going to be $30,000. Like, I about told him to get off our property. I wouldn't do 30. I might do 20 grand, but I'm not going to spend no 30 grand. Right. So they have this conversation already. So you're not going to get the, well, we got to talk about it and stuff like that. So they're allowed to have a conversation. They already know the price in advance. And then when you go in and to close the deal and say, all right, I got the numbers, let's go over it. Good news, bad news, right? And you go over it and you say, all right, well, here's the total. And it comes to $20,000. They go, for everything, right? And they're excited. They're like, that's it. And if you can hear that's it after you say the price, then you know you got it, right? Instead of most of the time, if you go give someone a quote for $20,000 and they don't know anything about anything, they're gonna freak out, and they're gonna want to get multiple bids and everything else. And so the key here, again, is to tell them the number in advance, say it way higher than you think it's going to be. And what happens, and if you guys are on here live, you can answer, or if you want to chat in, if you guys ask someone what their budget is, whether it's on the phone or in person, what do you typically hear? if you say, well, what's your budget for this project? Well, I'll answer it. Basically, yeah, I haven't done a project like this, so I'm not sure. Actually, 100%. They even if sometimes they really don't know. Sometimes they really haven't done a project, but we know most of the time they don't want to give us their budget, because let's say their budget's $5,000 and they tell us $5,000. They think that if it was going to come in at $3,000, that somehow magically we would just charge them $5,000 because they told us a higher number. That's the mindset that most of our clients have, right? And so the cool thing about doing it this way is when you give them that initial number and you're like, okay, guys, this is an amazing property, but this is like $25,000, $30,000. Typically they're going to have like a freak out moment. And then they're going to be like, that's way higher than we thought it. That's way higher than we thought it would be. And that's when you ask the magical question, oh, how much did you think it would be? Right. And when you ask them, how much did you think it would be? It's just another way of asking, what is your budget? Right. It's the same question worded differently. And when you say, well, how much did you think it would be? And you've already given a number, now the game is fair in their mind, right? Because you've given a number. Now they'll release their number to you and they'll give you a real number. And they might say 8 to 10. It might still be lower than the quote comes out, but now you're working with real numbers instead of just I haven't done a project like this, so I'm not sure, right? So that's a really good tip on getting their budget out of them. And I promise you, if you tell someone a number first and then gauge their reaction, say, oh, if they'll say that was a lot higher than we thought it would be, how much did you think it would be? Then they'll tell you their actual budget.
I feel like that's when you just get real. I love that. It's because you got to have them share what's in their head and make it comfortable for them to share, because then you're talking real now, and now you can really sell them.
That's right. And like if that scenario happened where they come back to me and they're like, well, gosh, I said 25, 30. And they're like, well, we thought it would be like 10, like 8 to 10, because that's what they said on the phone. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's realistic. That seems reasonable. But like I said, you guys, you don't have an average property. But don't worry, let me put it together. We'll put some options together and make sure it's comfortable for you guys, right? And then if I try to close it at 20 and I can't, well, I'm going to have multiple options anyway. So I have something that it's at that 10 grand mark, where it's like, with lighting at least, maybe it's 10 grand for the front, 10 grand for the back. And so I could say, well, listen, if that really is like, that's your comfort zone, why don't we get started with the front yard? You guys said that was priority for you. You wanted to make sure you had good curb appeal, safety, security, all that. Let's knock that out. That gives me an opportunity to prove myself, right? And make sure that we really are who we are, right? Even though we have 106 5-star reviews or whatever it is, right? But then you at least start with that one area. And if someone's going to trust you for that project, as long as you show up on time, give them the red carpet, white glove experience, they're going to end up spending the whole amount later on. So does anyone have any questions on the price marinade? The thing that I see most people messing up on is not doing it, right? And then when they start doing it, they're so worried about getting kicked off the property that they don't want to do the higher number. So they'll tell them the closer number, and then they'll mess up. They're like, oh, this is going to be a $12,000 project. And then if it comes in at 12.5, it's really hard to close that deal because it's higher than what you had already told them, So don't be afraid to give a higher number. That's where I see most people messing up, is they try to give them the spot on number, and then they end up kind of shooting themselves in the foot when they're wrong.
That's such a good point.
So, okay, well, we'll move on to the second one. The price marinade is gold, guys. You can start using that out of the box today. Get it in your scripts for answering the phones, get it in your scripts for when they answer the door, and start using this, and you'll be surprised how sticker shock goes away. Like, I don't have clients that have sticker shock because they already know the price. I can tell them at the very first 30 seconds what it's going to cost. Okay, and then the second one is the triple option. So this is where I've seen multiple people have different views on this. Again, this is just my opinion, my experience. Some people are like, well, you're the expert. You should tell them what, they're expecting you, to be the expert. So why would you give them options? And especially when it comes to lighting, people are like, well, you're the designer. Why would you let someone dictate the design? Well, we're going to break down why this is so important. And ultimately, it's because we're Americans, right? We want freedom. We want freedom of choice. We don't want to be told what to do, right? And you might be going, well, I'm already successful and I only give one option. Well, I would just encourage you to be open-minded a little bit and give options and try it out, right? Because I sold a lot of lights with just one option. And I thought that's what I was supposed to do too, because I did all the research. I did all the homework. I didn't want clients having options. Like, why would I give them options? I'm the expert, right? And I thought that for years. Well, I was at a marketing conference a couple of years ago, and Tony Robbins was the keynote speaker. He spoke for like 4 hours, and it only felt for like 30 minutes. Like, that guy is like high impact, high energy. It was crazy, right? So one of the exercises he did, there was literally like 5,000 people in the room, and he's like, all right, who in here has the cheapest bag, like cheapest handbag, purse, whatever? And someone was like, I got one for 50, and then someone had for 20, and then 10, and then 5, and then finally this lady had this $4 bag that she got from the thrift store. And he goes and walks up to her and has this conversation with her. And he's like, why do you value this bag? Like, what do you like? Oh, she's like, I love this bag. This is my favorite bag. And he's like, how much did it cost? It cost $4. You love this bag, this purse that costs $4. He's like, and she's like, yeah, it's like so awesome. What do you love about it? Well, I've always wanted something like this, and it reminds me of my grandma. And she had all these internal reasons why this $4 like thing from the thrift store was like the number one thing in her life, right? And she just loved this thing, right? Like, just loved it. And then he goes, all right, who's got the most expensive person here? And it was like, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And then finally he gets this lady, and it's $3,800, Louis Vuitton bag. And he's like, all right, why is this like, why do you like the what? That lady over there spent $4 at a thrift store. Why did you spend $3,800 for this thing? It does the exact same thing. It's literally like the same size. I'm really confused, right? And she's like, well, I've always wanted this bag. Well, why did you always want this bag? Well, I'm a real estate agent, and when I got my first set, like it was a number that she wanted to achieve. When she got to a certain number, she was going to give herself a reward, and it was this Louis Vuitton bag. So it meant something to her differently, right? And it's a symbol and all it's the status and everything else. And he had this conversation with her, and what was crazy is these two conversations were like identical. They were both so excited about it, but someone valued the $4 bag just the exact same as the $3,800 Louis Vuitton bag. And it was pretty remarkable to see, because it wasn't staged, it wasn't set up. It was just like this whole thing. And so you guys have to understand that you might think that you've done the research and you know that your client should buy this option and it's the best one, whatever. But some people don't want that. They just want the $4, thrift one bag. And some people don't want that. They want the one that's even higher than that, the one that you wouldn't pay for. That you're like, I mean, that's cool, but it's like $10,000 more. Like, who's going to do that? Well, they are. They're the Louis Vuitton bag holder, right? They're going to do it. So I learned the hard way. I started offering one option, and then I decided, I had some people say, well, we're going to go with someone else because they do this. And I'm like, we could do that. Like, what, are you kidding me? So I started offering 2 options. And I thought I was genius. I'm like, yeah, my sales are up. I'm doing 2 options. Bada bing, bada bang, right? And I realized, I don't know when it was. I had this epiphany. I was like, wait a minute. I think something's wrong here. When you think about people and purchasing and everything else, most people don't want to stick out. I mean, there are the people that are extravagant and they drive the flashy Lambo and everything else. And there are those people that are just super cheap. But generally speaking, most of us want to be part of something. We want to. That's why it's like people ask, like, who did your painting in the neighborhood? Who did your lawn? Whatever. Like, we don't want to be different. We just want to do what everyone else is doing. And so when I was offering 2 options, which 2 options was I offering? Well, I happened to be, to them, offering the highest price and the lowest price, because there was only 2 options. There was a high and a low. And so if you can give 3 options to people, that is where the money happens, because you're not offering the highest, you're not offering the lowest, you're offering the middle one. Well, you're offering all 3, but most people end up going with the middle one, and it frames your offer. And it shows them that, okay, we're not crazy people. We're not going to buy a $3,800 Louis Vuitton bag, but we're also not cheap. I ain't buying no $4 thrift bag thing, whatever. I'm just going to do the $2,000 one. $2,000 seems like a bargain compared to $3,800, right? And so it gives them all 3 options, and it allows you to expand your customer base a little bit more to be able to attract more people. And again, when it frames it like that, it gives them education, so they don't feel like they have to go out and get multiple bids. So that's how the triple option works. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I love that because basically you do the competitive pricing shopping for them. Like we'll give you, and I think oftentimes it actually helps encourage people to buy the higher, because if they can see a price comparison of the features in each of the packages, they might opt to choose the bigger one because that is costing me more, but look at all this extra value I'm getting. A lot of times they're going to go for that higher one just because now the value of it is laid out for them, that it's only $50 more and I get all this. So, well, then I'm going to do that. So I'm thinking about this because just yesterday I had to bring my car into the shop because there's nothing wrong with it mechanically. It just like the lock got broken, and so we had to it needed a new whole, I don't even remember the technical term, but it needed a whole new lock thing, and I had a total sticker shock because I thought it would be like a few $100 to fix, and it was over $1,000. But I think it would have been easier to swallow if they would have given me options, right? Like if you can either do this, it's going to cost $700. This is the other one, will cost $1,000. This will be $1,200. But if I didn't want to spend you $1,000, but if I had seen I have to do this anyway, but they built tons more value in the $1,200 one, I probably would have gone for that one.
Right.
So I think the packages, also just give value and options in the higher end one. So I love that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, honestly, if he would have done the price marinade on you and then done the triple option, that would have been just an easy decision, because 1,000 sounds like a lot. But if it's like, well, at least you're not spending, like, what if you would have thrown like a $2,500 option on there?
Then I would have felt better about it. Exactly. Yeah. And when I went to go pick it up, he's like, oh, when I went to buy the part for only extra $10, you got all these extra things. So I just went ahead and bought that for you. And which I totally would have anyway. But if he had sold that to me on the phone, then I would have even felt better before I had to go pay for it, So don't take there are opportunities there to make the customer feel even more excited to spend the money. So it looks like Ashley had a comment in here too. I don't know if you can see that in the chat. What if we line itemized our proposals? Do you still recommend offering 3 options versus informing them that we can take out to fit their budget?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it can be more complicated, obviously. I don't really like to line item for a lot of different reasons, which I know is a little bit different than pricing, but it more has to do with like closing the sale. I like to just give them a bulk price. So it's like, okay, if you want this project done, it's this. Like, I don't really some people will like, can you line item it? I'm like, well, I can, but like, what if I were to say like it's $1,000 in parts, but I'm doing free labor? Or what if I was doing like 1,000 in labor, but I'm just giving you the parts for free? Like, it doesn't really matter. If you want this project done, it's $1,000, right? And if you have like parts that you're going to give me, I'm not going to use them anyway. Like, we're a turnkey business. That way we can keep our warranties in place, take 100% responsibility, everything else. So it's a little bit harder, but yeah, I'd still try to figure it out. Like, when it comes to lighting, what I do is I'll do a front yard and I'll say, 10 lights up lighting, home exterior, 2 path lights, whatever. I'll give them like a little kind of line item of what they're getting, but then 3 different prices for the front yard. And then I'll do the same thing for the backyard. So they might actually have 6 different prices on that proposal. Hopefully that helps answer your question, Ashley. And then even then, like she mentioned, like taking stuff, take out, like if I had the front yard and that option was like 5,000, like the middle one, and they still wanted to get it down, then I could be like, well, let's scratch these 2 path lights. You can always add those later, right? I mean, I'm still flexible, but you're at least giving them something to start with, to start making decisions. Because most people, we've just been brainwashed as a world to not make decisions on the spot. And this helps change that, right? It gives them the 3 options. And I've reminded people, like you said, Michelle, I'm like, if they're like, well, we want to get bids, I'm like, for what? Like, I just gave you 3. Is there something that we didn't show you today that you're looking for? Oh, not really. Okay, well, which one do you think works best for you? Yeah, we'll do the middle one. Sounds great. So sometimes you just have to remind them.
Right? You go, I'm going to go buy a Honda. Okay, do you want the Accord? Do you want the Civic? Do you want, which model do you want? It's the same thought, right?
Even with just one model, you're trying to look at like a higher model of like the Tundra, for instance, or do you want just like the base model? Like, no, you don't want the base model. But I'm curious too, like, do you strategically try to steer like prospects towards one of the packages, like your middle package? Because usually that one feels like the most value, in people's minds, they're always calculating like which one is the best value, and you want to try to eliminate a lot of that work, a lot of the energy that people use to try to figure out like which one's best. So, I mean, do you recommend trying to get people just steered towards one package most of the time?
I do. Yeah, it's definitely the middle one. The middle one is the one that I'll even tell them that. Like I'm trying to be transparent through the whole process, earn their trust and everything else. And I'll just tell people like, the top one, not a lot of people go with that, and what's interesting though, when you say it, I'll say not a lot of people can afford that. The wealthy people, that's a challenge. And they're like, oh, do you know who I am? And they'll want to buy the top one because I just challenge them, right? Like, oh yeah, you don't think I can afford 50 grand? I'm like, I don't know, can you? So, but most of the time I'll try to get them into the middle one. And that's because, again, most people don't want to be the flashy, most expensive. They don't want to be the cheapest. They just want to be known as like, what's everyone else doing? Yeah, that's the middle one. And then sometimes I'll ask that, like you said, like you have to kind of direct them, say, this is your most bang for your buck. It's the best warranty. It's the best service plan. It's the best bang for your buck for quality. This is the one that most people do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you say internally, from like a business owner standpoint, that middle package would be probably the one providing like the highest profit margins for you, maybe?
Yes and no. I only really understand the lighting business very well, but with certain businesses it might change. There are times where I've sold that top package and actually made more profit, but it also comes with more headaches too. Like in the lighting world, it's like RGB and automation and all this other stuff that now has callbacks. And then are you going to be able to control the client experience as much? So me personally, I'd rather just even if I was going to make a little bit less money, I'd rather sell the middle one because I'm most confident in that all around.
Right. That makes sense.
So, and I've had people even tell me like, well, I can make more money on the lower one. I'm like, well, make the lower one your middle one and then come up with a new lower one, but because it's not really it is intended to maximize profits. That's what I'm big on. But at the same time, it's also just a strategy to help them make a decision. And if it can help you close more deals, you're going to also be more profitable because of that,
Right. I think business is made so much out like from patterns too. Like if you're seeing so many clients are just shooting for the lower package all the time, yeah, make it your middle package, come up with another lower package. Because I also feel like you don't want people always hitting the lower package.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was just going to say too, I think humans are so funny because, and we're all like this. I mean, we like options, but we also like being told what to choose almost, like, well, what's the popular decision? So it's like, we want the option to choose, but we also want you to do the work of letting us know which one we should choose. But we just need to know that we can make that choice on our own. So
yeah.
Oftentimes what they want, right?
And one thing I'll add, like I've had situations where I do all three and they'll ask, or I'll tell them, most people are doing this middle one, but sometimes they don't. They're just like, okay, let's do the cheap option. And I go, what was that? And they're like, the cheap one. I'm like, no, wait, apparently you weren't paying attention. I'm like, this whole time I was trying to get you to buy the middle one. And now you got to make me do this. And I say, listen, I'm totally like, I wouldn't offer all three options if I wasn't comfortable with it. So if at the end of the day, you guys want to do that, let's do it. Let's get it started. We'll get you on the calendar, whatever. But I will tell you, anytime we have a problem, a callback, anything like that, we've got a ton of 5-star reviews, but when we get problems, it's when people chose the cheap one. And I have had people tell me in the past, had we known we were going to have these types of issues, we would have gladly paid the extra. So I just want to be fully transparent. If you guys want to do that, let's upgrade you to the middle one. If not, I'm totally fine. And I upsell a lot of people into the middle one like that, by just giving them that one extra kind of plug, but then other people are like, no, we're fine. We're only going to be here 2 years. That's just one we want. Let's move on. And I've done the same thing with the top one. I'm like, listen, guys, if they choose the top one, I'm like, I just want to be like full disclosure. I was trying to get you guys to do the middle one. And that actually almost enforces them to buy the top one because they're like, oh, he's not after the money, right? But I tell them, like, if you're going to go with that option, there's more bells and whistles. There's more things that can fail. We're still going to stand behind it 100%. But it's not like a good, better, best. It's more just like a good, better, good. And it just happens to be more like attractive and sexy. So like if you guys decide to go with that one, just understand we might get to know each other a little bit better, which is totally fine. But I don't want you thinking it's the best and this is how to pay me to never see me, right? So and sometimes I'll downgrade people into the middle one, which again, I'm good with. That's where I wanted them anyway. I'm most confident in that product and everything. And then other times people take that as like, oh, now we're early adopters. We always buy, like, look at our cars, look at our house, we always buy the best of the best. This is what we want. I'm like, good deal. Let's get it going.
Interesting. Yeah, I can totally see that. Give options, whatever you do, give options. I love that.
Okay. So that's pretty much it, guys. We went through why pricing is key in transforming your business, the math behind increasing your price, how to make a quick extra 40 grand, 100 grand, wherever you're at in business, the 2 methods that you guys can use to increase your price today. And guys, this is just literally the easiest way to make more money in your business starting today. So just do it, raise your price, and your future self will thank you. Even a week from now, your future self will thank you because you got Fridays off. You can think about me. You're going to love it. So is there any questions that you guys have? We've got just a couple more minutes, it looks like. And if people are on, even watching on the recording or anything like that, I'll give you guys my contact information. You get my podcast at lightingforprofits.com. I've got a free Facebook group. So if you want to find out more information about landscape lighting, it's Lighting Mastermind. And then, of course, just shoot me a friend request and DM me on Facebook. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
That's perfect. And we'll make sure, Kaylin, will you make sure you put those in the Facebook comments as well so they know how to contact Ryan? That was some incredible value there. That was really fun to talk about, really interesting to think about those different aspects of it. And I mean, everyone would be crazy not to implement at least part of one of the principles that we talked about today. So
that's right.
You're valuable. Just looking, just checking on Facebook too. If anybody has any comments before we close here, feel free to pipe in. Nicole, do you have any last thoughts? Yeah,
I do have a question, Ryan. Do you have like one thing or one, what am I thinking of? Like for the upcoming year and the upcoming, I guess, couple years, like one thing you could share with people that are in this industry that you specialize in that you can see changing, like coming up soon?
I don't know that's a good question. There's new products, new technologies, like a lot of new softwares coming into lighting. Like lighting in the past was just like turn on, turn off. Now there's new softwares that come in where you can automate shows and stuff like that. So there's like the permanent Christmas lights where they have that. Well, that's kind of coming into landscape lighting now where you can change the colors for Halloween or certain holidays. So there's just going to be some innovation, I guess, with products and stuff like that. And then I honestly see the industry, the landscape lighting industry specifically, as a really immature industry. There's gonna be a lot of growth. So we've ridden a good wave of just kind of being able to do what we want, but there's gonna be more competition, which is gonna be a good thing actually, because it's gonna drive awareness. And if I drive through a nice neighborhood, like not that many people have professionally installed landscape lighting. So I think it's gonna be a huge opportunity over the next kind of probably 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And thank you everyone who joined us both on Facebook and on the live Zoom here. And like I mentioned, anyone who missed it, will be sure to send out the recording, but thank you so much. Yeah. We really appreciate you, Ryan. You're awesome.
Okay. See you guys. Take it easy.
Thanks everyone.